So I'm reading the imprint, and the name of the article is Kids of Color in Minnesota Foster Care Are Most Likely to Live with White Foster Parents and Why There Are Concerns. Listen, at the end of the day, I always speak about this from a foster child perspective. The truth is that as a foster child, I did not worry about the color. I was not concerned about the sexual preference. I was not concerned about the religious choices of my parents. I needed somewhere to stay, I needed somewhere to eat, and I needed somewhere to feel safe. But I do understand why this is being a concern, and the concerns are valid. I was thinking about one of the solutions, because it's one thing to talk about issues and not offer solutions, and I never like that. One of the things, as it relates to getting a diverse foster parent pool, is that we have to do better at recruiting. I'm hoping Minnesotans that you guys are out there recruiting. And the one thing about, if you want more black parents, I would really start in the church. And I love an amazing idea, which I have heard before, would be the churches that have a significant portion of African Americans. The amazing story of Possum Trot that reflected how a church in Texas made a gigantic difference by having their members go out and foster the children within their community. I think it's an amazing idea. It actually happened in real life and on American soil, where I believe that you could recruit in the church. You could recruit in so many different places, but it has to make sense to black families. It can't be just any and everything. The money has to be right as well. I mean, you can't ask people to do one thing and then not give them the money and the resources and let them know what their commitment is. People are trying to survive, and to add another mouth into the family may not be feasible, but you got to give people incentives, okay? So the number one thing is definitely talking about the recruiting. One of the issues I do believe is the culture part of it. Culture is very important. And I do believe that foster care agencies have a job to do as relates to giving classes on what is culturally appropriate, what is culturally offensive. One of the things that we need to really speak about in some of our black issues and culture issues is dealing with the hair. How does the child like their hair to be done? What products to use? No, you can't take your African American child to any type of hairstylist. The hair products that's being used needs to be thought out. Someone needs to teach you that, especially if you don't have someone who is of that culture. And so how important it is to have hair, the different styles of hair, the different textures of hair. Absolutely, when it comes to culture, especially dealing with African American children, is the music and the significant important things that the music brings. How serious we take dance. How impactful hip-hop is. What is gospel music? I mean, these are things that the kid does need to be enlightened about. So when they become an adult, they know exactly what they're talking about. Taking African American Black History Month serious, right? We're not skipping over that. And so when we do these transracial or interracial adoptions, you know, how serious are the foster parents as it relates to getting to know the foster child, not just the individual, but actually falling in love with their culture. I forget where I see this at. I saw this at where the girl says she loves him. The mother said, "You love my son, but you don't love his culture. You don't love what he is about, what makes him tick." It's totally different, right? And so as foster parents, are we really falling in love with the culture to make sure we're giving the best parenting experience. Okay, these are just helpful things. The issues that are prevalent in certain communities as it relates to police brutality, regardless of how you feel about Blue Lives Matter or how you feel about police. But you got to be honest about what's happening in black communities, even if you're raising that child in the white community, right, or a privileged community. It's not a bad or it's not a negative thing. It's just something that when we are raising children from different cultures, are we giving them the best tools that they need? Watch out for this. Watch out for that. You get pulled over. You have to have these tactics. You have to have this knowledge. That's the way that I would hope that foster care agencies would approach it, with giving foster parents the knowledge, because they have already done a good deed. And I want to be clear here. In the child welfare system, we're not to be bashing white people or any other race that decides to foster black youth. If you want to complain, listen, there's no complaint. Make sure your house is a licensed foster home and put in the work. But to attack people and make them feel less than because they're not the same race, it's not making any sense. Right? Especially if you don't want to do it, especially if you're not in the fight, especially if you're not fostering children, but yet you're just speaking, you're not trying to get more foster homes licensed. And then we make white people feel horrible for getting a black child because they wanted to help. Now, if you want to, get them on the white saviorism and you want to get them on the white cape thing, I understand that. But at the end of the day, they're helping a black child. They're helping a child that needed help. Okay? I do think that some foster parents need to talk about inner city issues. Okay? Because one of the things that I learned being raised in the suburbs by my foster parents was that I was completely oblivious to inner city issues, which are totally different. The historical perspective of police brutalities in our cities. We also need to have foster parents have the tools to talk about the racism that they may encounter as well. Right? So we got to make sure that we're being the best resource to our foster parents. And so they can have the best tools to give to that African-American foster child. I would like to see active participation in workshops and information required for interracial parents and transracial adoptees and transracial homes. Thank you for every foster parent that exists. I want to end here. Thank you for every foster parent that exists. Becoming a foster parent is something special. And I believe that heaven smiles on people who embark on such a journey.